Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, September 28th. It's football Saturday weekend. We got 1 hour of the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate talk with you. Some great guests in the studio. To the right of me, Harry Glanz.
Yeah, all my friends going out to the Michigan game this morning. Good morning, everybody in the cars. They're out there. I saw them all piling in the cars this morning. But also, Harvey, last night, downtown, Tiger game, 4-1 was there. The crowd, the electricity. I'm going to tell you what, after 10 years of not making the postseason, a lot of fun. And those who know and listen to this show know we're big sports fans. That's why we're on the station. But there's nothing beats what's going on downtown. And by the way, Monday night, we got a crazy thing going on, too. Monday Night Football, the Lions, we're rolling. This is a rolling time of year, and we love the postseason. And great to be here. But we're also going to talk mortgage and real estate today. I know we're going to bore everybody out there. But you need to be solid financially, Harvey. And we have two
Absolutely.
great guests.
I love that, yeah.
And we have a great panel. We have great guests this morning, so roll with it.
All right. Cooper Glass Homes, of course. We got Dana Cooper and Laurie Glass. You guys are fantastic. I know because I've been fortunate enough to do some transactions with you. You guys are the best.
Recently,
yeah. We need more recently. Don't worry, more and more. Don't worry about that. We'll get it going. So we're going to talk about that, what the inventory is looking like, how things are shaping up. You guys are really the queens of the sort of the Woodward corridor. We always say that. We got Birmingham, Royal Oak, Oakland County, but you branch out in the Tri-County areas. Again, you want to work with local experts. These guys are experts. So give us calls at 248-539-9797. The best over there across the way. Hey, Becky, you're a little quiet over there this morning. I know we got dog things going on in our life. We love. How old is the dog over there,
So,
Becky?
I got Petrie with me. He's 18. We're kind of going through the things, so he's on constant, being monitored by me all the time.
Oh, yeah. Hey, great life. You've 18 years old for dogs.
Yes.
You've done. Hey, look, if I'm a dog, I'm going to come back in your world, Becky, for sure. You must be feeding them all the good stuff.
Yes, I am. Yes, it's like I had a little cult, so I had his dad, his sister, my mom had his other brother, and
I
so
didn't know.
Petrie's the last of the Mohicans, so he's on. He's just with me all the time, so wherever he's like riding shotgun.
Well, Laurie and Dana, of course, welcome back to the show. We do take your calls live in the studio at 248-539-9797. I'm still pretty jazzed up because of the Tigers last night. I was listening to Mark Ryan. He had lots of good things and a lot of great people in Detroit, really positive things in the Metro Detroit area. This time of year is really awesome, too. Again, we get the four seasons, but now things cool down a little bit. And we got the cider mills, and we got a lot of fun stuff. So many walkable cities. And you guys, most of the cities that you guys are involved with on a daily basis truly are walkable cities. And Dana, I think that's really cool. Even Huntington Woods is just a dynamic city, but even like the Birminghams and the Royal Oaks and Ferndales, let's talk about that a little bit because it's so exciting. You know, you can get out of your house, walk down the street, and there's places to go eat and drink, and there's local bars. It's so fun.
Absolutely. I think that the city life is awesome. To be able to have the walkability from your home to go into a city is amazing. I just had guests in town recently that were looking. They want to be in near downtown Birmingham because they want the walkability. They're from Philly and California, but they want that that city life. It's so great to be able to offer both suburban feel and a city environment.
Yeah, I have family members that moved back from the East Coast and the West Coast and the Midwest, and they want to be in there. And you did one of my nephews and my nieces in Huntington Woods. They love their house. It was great, and we appreciate what you've done for them and the entire community. You guys know what's going on. You have your ear to the ground every day, and we like that. We can, we had a little previous conversation before we walked in here. Things are happening, okay? And because what the Fed did a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Even though translated right this second, as we know, Becky, Harvey, and I know this every day, rates didn't go down that much. As a matter of fact, they probably stayed the same. They jumped up a little bit, but they will go down. I'm very confident they're going to go down. We just we don't know when and to exactly what rate it's going to be. But you guys know this, that when people feel good and the economy's strong and in the market that you're in, you're seeing activity just based on the good news that happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, rates did edge down a little prior to that meeting, to that Fed meeting, and everyone thinks, the Fed meeting, a bunch of clients called, okay, so rates are going to go down. It's like, no, the market was predicting it already, so they were down.
Baked in, as we say.
Yeah, exactly, baked in. So, but the fact is that you can see the loosening up of inventory with that time period prior to that meeting and in anticipation of that meeting. We really did see, there were times where there were just 1 and 2 and 3 houses in some smaller neighborhoods like Huntington Woods. Now we have a few more. So and we have a few coming. So just there alone. So it feels like it's loosened up a bit. People have to have somewhere to go.
A step in the right direction for sure as the Fed funds hopefully will continue to slide down with the interest rates. And if you do a mortgage with us at Capital, of course, you can always refinance it. So we're always looking forward to those opportunities in the future, especially for families that might have picked up a house over the last 2 years where rates were a lot higher, double where they were previously during the pandemic. So we all got comfortable with it. But Laura, I love that idea. When the rates loosen up a little bit, you got those empty nesters. Now they're looking and they're saying, you know what, now could be the time. I don't know if you want to drive down to Florida right now and check out some property necessarily this week, but definitely one of the retirement states. And Becky, we see this all around. There's other opportunities in South and North Carolina. There's opportunities all over. We have families moving to Savannah. You pick your state. There's lots of Arizona, lots of retirement communities and places to go if you're thinking about moving.
Yeah, there's a lot of snowbirds happening in Michigan. You know, they like our summers, but they go somewhere else. And, you know, but some people are coming back. You know, I have a couple of clients that are moving from Reno to come back to Michigan to be with their family because Michigan is always going to be home, right? You can go all over the place. And that's why oftentimes when people are moving to the Carolinas, it's not forever because there is something about Michigan that always brings people back. And that's what's really cool about our state.
We see it all the time. We see it every day. People call, I grew up here and I want to come back. I'm in Colorado. I'm in Arizona. I'm in wherever, Seattle. They call every other week at least.
They either start missing mom and dad or the grandparents are like, wait a minute here. My grandkids are back there. What am I doing 2,000 miles
That's
away?
right.
It's time for me to come back home.
Well, maybe you can call my daughter who lives in Colorado. She and her husband are coming back. I don't know. I don't know, guys. But we do have, you know, we talk about mortgage rates and you know, we have articles we print out. We kind of try to stay with the market because it's what we do. One of the articles in Mortgage News Daily is mortgage rates are not 110% lower this week. They're not. They're just not. And that should not preclude anybody from taking a look. Like we said, a little bit of an announcement in the Fed funds rate, move people off the dime. We've been preparing people for months now to go ahead and save them money by refinancing. You've been preparing people to say, hey, listen, it's going to happen. If you want to sell your house, get your house on the market now. Okay, because what are you waiting for? I mean, if people want to sell, they should sell now. People want to buy, take a look at buying now. Rates are going to come down even further. And I say that with a lot of confidence because they're not going up. We don't know when they're coming down. We don't know how much they're going to come down. But if you're making a higher payment now and we can get you a lower rate, Becky, that means you're going to be making a lower payment. And why wait? Why write another check or have it taken out of your account right now at a higher amount?
Yeah, that would be insanity, right? Isn't that the definition of it?
Right.
You know, and even when, like, you know, just even right now, you're locking in the price of the home. You can always refinance, right? And we know the rates are going to drop. We just don't know where. But you run back their tapes that we talk about this every year, every week, right? And, you know, we've been pretty tight on saying that end of the fourth quarter, beginning of first, this year, we're going to see that change. And I do feel confident we're going to really see those changes. So if you can throw your hat in the ring right now, secure a better payment for yourself on a house versus rent, do it. If you can refinance right now versus pay these higher credit card debts, do that right now because refinances, we've been doing them the whole entire year because people overbought in 2020 and now they're living on their credit card. So refinances have never went away. You just didn't hear people talking about it as much.
Right. If the rates came down a little bit again, maybe in home equity loans, maybe that car loan becomes a little bit more affordable. But then now all of a sudden the banks are saying those money markets are offering at 5%. They won't pay you as much on those either. So it's a little give and take. Let's go back to the housing. When there's a lot of houses on the market, families are really slow to make that move on that nice house because, hey, I need to see more. So it's sort of been a good thing maybe for you guys that there's only, when you narrow it down what somebody's boxes are, checking all the boxes, are they still looking at 5 to 10 homes? There might not be 5 or 10 homes on the market.
Exactly.
But how do you feel about that search for a home? It still takes, you got to get on in the car, really look to see what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think inventory has been light, you know, so I think it's kept the market strong as far as what the final home prices that we're seeing. The market's, you know, sellers are still doing really well. We're getting multiple offers on our listings, and I think that, you know, buyers they're still struggling to get a home, right? So that is still a challenge that we are seeing, and that could be frustrating on the buy side. But that's why we encourage sellers, if they're on the fence, get on the market. Like it's crazy some of the prices we're seeing. So my husband says it all the time, right? He's like, they got that for that house. We're selling.
Yeah, selling the next day. But I like that idea. You got to get in the car and definitely look. 10 different homes before really landing the home is the average. 2 offers before actually getting an offer accepted. That's the other part of the equation. You finally land something, and now you got the multiple bid situation. You truly have to be prepared. So let's just talk about that. As so many calls are calling in, and they said, "Hey, Harvey, I want to buy a new house, but I got to sell mine. I need the equity. I'm going to pull the equity out. This is my plan." So we always like that reverse contingency, and we're definitely telling people and promoting it, saying, get the house on the market. Maybe that person who's buying it, maybe they're renting for another few months, and you can buy sometime. Ladies, that music says we're up against our first break. When we come back, we'll answer those questions and a whole lot more. 248-539-9797. Keep it here. All right, welcome back to the show. You heard it right there. We are brought to you today by Capital Mortgage Funding, of course, powered by CMG Home Loans. NMLS 1820 equal housing lender. You can call us at Capital all week long at 1-800 low rate, the best mortgage banker, all weekend long, anytime. Pick up the phone calls. We'll answer. We'll get you started on that path to home ownership. So many great programs out there. And there's been some changes. Becky, I'll go back to the increase in the loan limits with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. As we're seeing, and these ladies are involved in these gorgeous homes across Southeast Michigan, more and more $800 million homes, 20% down, get you down to 800. Now that's a conforming loan limit. And it's just a little bit easier. Again, you can still get the great interest rates on these jumbo loans if you want to borrow more than that, Beck, but just a little bit easier process, especially for some self-employed individuals, a little bit less documentation.
Yeah, I mean, then you can go, 5% down. You could be a first-time buyer and do 3% down if you're so lucky to be in that kind of price point. And that's just more of a testament that the housing market is not going to burst, right? When they make these calculated moves, there's a reason for it. You can see that the appreciation is happening there in the homes, in the market. Employers, people are getting paid a little bit more, but obviously inflation's, there as well. But you have a lot of clients that are in that $1 million price point that now are going to be able to take advantage of, easier guidelines.
What we were talking about earlier on pre-show is that it's a little bit insane because we're a little bit older. And to get into a starter home in certain areas when you're approaching that $1 million mark, just to think about it. But if you really think about it, and you go back and you do the history on the real estate market, our parents, our grandparents thought our parents were crazy for buying the house we bought. Then we bought our house. They thought we were crazy buying what we bought. This is the evolution of real estate. And that's why real estate over time is one of the greatest assets you could have. Buying a home, and people say, equity's overrated. Yeah, equity's overrated. Take a look at the equity that people built up in the last 5 years. Is that overrated? No, that's real money. And you realize that, yes, you realize it when you sell. But you use that to springboard into a new home that you're going to go ahead and you're going to have. So, this is the evolution of the real estate industry. And you guys, listen, we say it all the time. Because we're in it. But people that aren't in it, they need to know what's going on. And that's why I don't mind rookies. I think rookies, you have to start somewhere. I started somewhere. But you really need to dive into it. And you have to commit 100% to your craft. And when you have somebody that that is committed, then they're going to get all the answers for you. Nobody knows everything. We all learn something new every day. But when you're in the middle of the market, you got to be with people. Like Becky will tell you that there are so many first-time homebuyer programs and so much down payment assistance money that if you need to get into a home, you don't need to have tens of thousands of dollars to get into a house.
No, yeah. That's one of the biggest home, we talk about it, one of the bigger home buyer mistakes is thinking you have to put 20% down. So there's more down payment assistance programs in the history of ever. And, I've been in the business 20 years. There's never been this many programs out there because the truth is they want individuals to occupy the homes. Because when the last time, like in 2008, 9, 10, all these investors came in, they gobbled up these properties, and now rent. It's harder to get into a rental than it is a primary home. So the reason why is because they don't want the investors coming in and gobbling up all these properties. They don't want the big corporations coming up and gobbling up these properties. They want people to live there, build their homes, raise their families. And so some of these programs, you don't even have to be a first-time buyer in order to capitalize on some of this money. But it all starts with that conversation and getting in alignment with true professionals where we do this every day, day in, day out, boots on the ground, finding that individual program that's going to help you. And maybe you don't need the money, but it's still there. We're going to give it to you.
And we love to help all buyers, and we love helping those buyers, right? I mean, we started out that way. My first loan was an FHA when I bought my house,
Me
right?
too.
When I was first married. And had nothing to do with credit or a problem with credit. It was a great program.
Right.
I was a first-time home buyer, allowed me to put a small amount of money down, right? I mean, listen, a testament to the market right now is I just helped a bunch of my son's friends. Like, there's no greater pleasure for me, right, than
That's
helping
awesome.
a bunch of my son's friends buy these houses. They're young kids and they want to buy their first home. They're doing great. They they really understand the market. They understand homes. They understand neighborhoods. Like, their kids are more educated than we've ever been, and they're seeking out these programs.
And not one of them said to you, look, these prices are too high. The interest rates are too high. They went with the flow. They said, this is today's marketplace. They understood that they can go ahead and refinance in the future. They wanted to get in today's price point.
They want to own. I mean, right?
And
My
they understand
son
investments.
Yeah, absolutely. My son bought his first home when he was 19. I mean, he
Really?
knew he was going to be somewhere for 6 years doing a PhD, and he said, I'm not going to rent for 6 years. He did great with it. It was
Smart.
the best movie ever made.
He's sitting on a bundle of equity now, which is even better.
Did great.
And we see that even with inflation, and like we're a lot of middle class people. I'm a middle class person myself. So look, the equity in the home definitely can bail you out with inflation and sometimes driving up those credit cards. You got kids in college. Things get rather expensive. So that opportunity always to use that equity in a time when things aren't so great for you. Again, we don't want you to use it as a piggy bank, but if it's there if you need it, because at least you're building something in the future. And again, sometimes you just put the money back into the house and you're paying off that home improvement loan. So we see still a lot of that. And Harry, obviously, the home equity loans have trickled down a little bit, but still a lot higher than a first mortgage.
Yeah, there's always going to be that, if you need a bridge, you get a home equity loan. But I like to say this, that the biggest mistake people are making, they're waiting. All right, you just heard, a 19-year-old kid bought a house. He didn't wait because he recognized the value of it. If you're going to continue to wait, and especially in this market, the prices are going to go up. And then if and when rates drop dramatically, you're going to have more people in the market looking to buy a house. The prices are not coming down right now. They're just not. And waiting is, I know waiting is the hardest part. Was that Tom Petty?
Yeah.
Waiting isn't the hard. It is the hardest part because you shouldn't wait. Now, you shouldn't buy a house when you can't financially afford it, right? We all say that. Don't put yourself in a bind. But the problem is, if you're going to wait, you're going to miss the boat. And right now, with the scarcity of homes coming on the market and the prices going up, if you're in the market, you got to take a look at it. If you can afford it, you got to take a look at it.
I feel like that indecision is almost like a personal prison, right? So it's like, no matter what you're going to do, you have to decide what you're going to do. So if you're going to rent, go all in. If you think you want to buy, go all in. Make a decision. But when you're like, I don't know, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, or I don't know, I'm afraid, or you listen to everybody else and you listen to everyone else's, opinions. The worst thing you ever do as a dream is share it with somebody else. Because if they don't see it, then they're going to destroy it. Yeah. So it's all about just making that choice and walking down that path and then getting in alignment with the right people that are going to help see that vision.
And it's really in the math, right? I mean, if you can afford it, here's the calculator. You got to do the math. You sit down, you do your budget. You say, hey, listen, you know what? Maybe I won't go to Starbucks 10 times a day like I do. Okay, maybe you won't. But the bottom line is you have to be able to afford it, but you can't wait. If you sit there and you vacillate and you're just overanalyzing everything, you're never going to pull the trigger.
But also one of the things, I think Dana and I do best, right, is really listen to people. Listen to what they're saying, listen to what their needs are, right? So if they're on the fence, whatever, we're like, listen, maybe it's time to wait. But I will tell you that we have more calls from people who say, I was waiting for the rates to go back down, and now I've been paying somebody else's mortgage for like 2 or 3 years, and the prices of houses never came down. So price of houses went up, the rates are leveling, and now they were stuck with, renting and paying somebody, as I say, paying somebody else's mortgage, and they have no equity, right? Mm-hmm. So,
or I actually even had a gentleman, longtime client of mine. He was actually having regrets over selling his house because he was trying to cash in, and then he's been kind of like floating, waiting for like the housing to come down and up and down like you're talking about. And now we just closed on his new house, but he put himself in a tough bind, and he said, I regret doing that. I regret selling my house just because I wanted to cash in, and then I've been floundering trying to find the right home because I thought I was going to sell high, buy low.
Like trying to time the market.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that.
It'd be nice if every home that you toured was totally in moving condition, but when you're looking at it, but you guys are the experts. You can really go in there and go back to people and say, look, these cosmetic features, don't get too hung up on them. What are some of the things that when you're out there with buyers, they're really hung up on still? And is it, I don't have a lot of money, I need something that's moving condition?
So you're talking about like what should sellers
features, sellers, things that sellers can do. What are the real triggers right now that a buyer might say to you, a new buyer when they walk into a home?
So we think paint goes a long way, right? Mm-hmm. We always say paint's the biggest bang for your buck, as far as having everything look fresh. And that's usually one of the main things we advise sellers. We're not big proponents of spend a lot of money to get your house ready for market. We really zone in on what's going to give them the biggest bang for the buck.
It's not outrageous to repaint a home. It's funny, you go to home, the stores, the big box stores, and those are the biggest sections in there is the paint section. I always walk by and I'm like, what are the new colors and stuff? But yes, those are huge sections, and it's not too expensive to fix up a home.
No, I mean, it truly is. anybody who's listening out there, it truly is the biggest bang for your buck. You can paint your front door, right? That's, curb appeal, clean up the yard, whatever. I mean, you have to have that first impression, right? But just even painting moldings that have been nicked up, even if you don't want to do the big job. Or, we were at a house a few days ago. There's a cupboard underneath the sink that's, there's wear and tear, right? And we're like, you know what? That's something that just sticks in a buyer's mind. We meet with a ton of buyers, right, daily, and we hear what they say and we see it and we feel it ourselves. Does it, is it in the back of our mind something about condition when that cupboard is like that? So it's not big things, we know how to hone in on those little things that aren't hugely expensive.
Well, aesthetics play a big part. You walk in, people get a great vibe, right? You pull up to the curb, you park the car, you open the door, you take a look. The first impression means a lot. Now, should it? I don't know. I mean, I can plant my own flowers and I can repave my, my brick pavers and all that kind of stuff. But people don't look beyond that. They see what they see. Then they walk in the house, fresh coat of paint, right? Furniture nicely arranged. Don't leave the house a mess. You guys aren't going to allow that anyways.
No,
right.
Don't.
You're not going to allow it.
Right.
We've seen some crazy appraisals. I've seen some crazy pictures come across my desk recently on purchases that I can't even believe they left the house look like that.
Yeah.
But you walk in, you want to see it looking great, spotless, and spick and span, and you guys do that.
All right, we're going to come back and give you some more information at 248-539-9797. 21% of recent buyers brought outside their desired neighborhood. Hey, I want to live over here, but wait, there's not enough homes on the market. I can't get my offer accepted. All right, 21% said maybe that other subdivision, that other city has some appeal to it. Let's talk about that. 248-539-9797. Keep it here. All righty, welcome back to the show here. We are live, 9:29. So much to share with you. Coming up at 10 o'clock, Mark Ryan, Pat Caputo. Keep the great vibes here in Detroit as we continue on. We are made the playoffs last night. Celebration down at the park last night. Here, you got a chance to check it out. I see you got the Tiger D on today.
Oh, yeah. Always sporting the Tiger D. And by the way, it was electric. It was phenomenal. 4-1. Tigers are in the playoffs. Postseason, here we come. It's going to be great. Lions Monday night. Michigan today. Michigan State today, so we got a lot going on. Yeah, there you go.
All right, we got the Michigan State game. That's tonight against Ohio State.
Ohio
So
State.
huge game. We're a huge sports town. It is back and alive here, kicking in Detroit. Call one of these great real estate agents, Dana Cooper, Laurie Glass, Cooper Glass Homes, Max Brook Realtors. You can call us at the office or just check them out. Cooper Glass Homes. If you Google it, you guys will pop up. I think that's an easy way to get to you. Great agents. They have so much to share with you. When they walk into homes, and that's the difference between the experts, the professionals. They can walk into a home and start telling you what's going on here. Obviously, the good stuff. Telling you the age of furnaces and going over all the fine details is one thing. But talking about what fixes are going to cost you, having that knowledge to say, look, this city allows for this. And I actually brought that up to you. I said, some cities don't have as many knockdowns. Sometimes cities are a little bit more restrictive on what you can do. So you're not going to really bulldoze that house and rebuild your McMansion on it. Just some cities allow it and some don't. But talk about that a little bit when you walk in. We were talking about it before. A few different things when you go to a house, things that we need to point out. And then Harry got a ticket text, was like, how do you make the offer on the house nowadays? You don't want to lose it. And you don't want to come in too low. Can you come in with that escalation clause? Obviously you're coming in at full price. Talk about that negotiation a little bit.
So I always advise, because there are multiple offers and you don't want to lose these houses. My biggest thing I advocate for is make an offer, make your best offer, right? So that if you don't get it, that you're not upset. And of course you're still upset, but that you gave it your best shot, right? You didn't leave anything on the table, right? So my advice is go in with the best offer that you can do, and that way you gave it your best shot. Don't leave anything on the table.
And certainly, I believe in escalation clauses because
I do too. I like that.
And some agents lately have said, "Oh, I don't." I don't like to take escalation clauses, or agents call me and say, do you accept escalation clauses? People should be able to offer how they want to offer. I'm not going to dictate whether they can do it. I still think they need to start with a high number. And I think that's the misconception of this escalation clause is, but if I start maybe at asking and say I'll escalate. But the truth is, if you're a seller and you're sitting with 3 to 5 or 8 offers in front of you, a couple of them are going to have escalations, but the escalator offer that starts with the highest number, that's who they're going to look at.
You guys might even call, let's talk about that. I always say, you guys in your world is location. Our world is communication. Some agents don't want to call back. So that becomes a little bit of an issue. If I call you and say, hey, look, what's it going to take to get my people this house? They want this. What's it going to take? You guys will pick up the phone and say, here's where we're at. My best offer is this. If you can make it this, can you do a little of that?
No,
or
they're
no?
not going to do that. They're not going to do that,
Nope.
Harvey. I'm going to tell you. Can I answer first? Because I try to help out here. Harvey, they're never going to give up the position. They're never going to give up the price and say this. They're acting in the best interest of that seller. So what you're going to hear is, listen, come in with a strong offer. We're entertaining all offers. And you know what? It might be a strong offer, but it might offer occupancy for 60 days rather than 30. That might be a better offer, even though it might be a smidge lower than somebody offering a 30-day with a higher price, right? So they're never going to come out and say, oh, you know what? My brother's looking for $450, Harvey. We have 5 offers at $445. Never in this world is that ever going to happen, right? But there are things that you might consider. You're not going to say it, but when considering a home with a seller, a price and an offer, occupancy is a big deal, and other things as well, right? So explain that to everybody.
Well, so first of all, I want to say, I think the reason Dana and I are blessed to be so successful, knock on wood, is that, a lot of agents will call and say, hey, are you calling for highest and best? What's my deadline, right? We don't generally do that, and there's a reason. I think we work these offers and answer these calls all weekend. The minute we put a listing up, we're answering our phone. We're answering these agents because, the truth is that's how we end up doing the best for our sellers. We're telling them, listen, we're here. We're you're going to need to be high. You're going to need to be this. We're giving them information, not specifics, but to build them up, right? Answering that question. It's not, and I don't mean to make any knocks on any other agents, but right, sometimes I call highest and best 5:00 on Sunday, and the whole weekend, it's great. They're putting their feet up or they're playing golf. But Dana and I, literally, we're working for our seller. We put it up on a Friday. We are working 3 days straight, answering that phone to tell people occupancy, maybe paying some closing costs, it's, anything that they can offer, giving them knowledge at least that there's multiple offers and it's building up high. And if you want it, great. Thank you for calling. And I'm happy to help you try and get it. But you've got to go here or high or any of those, tips to keep that price.
Okay, so now, let's just say you got an offer that's going to the freaking moon. Okay. Now, are you guys having those conversations? Now you have value, so then you're going to be looking at that appraisal guarantee, something like that, right? Because obviously, if I want to win, I'm going to win, right? I'm going to throw some number out there. But then a lot of times I feel like these buyers are throwing out this over high number. And then when it comes down to put up the number, money, they're like, oh, crap, I don't want to do that. So you guys take that in consideration as well. Like how high you're, because sometimes it's going to be crazy. Right. And you're like, okay. Right. And then once you see that appraisal guarantee, then you have to do that math too. Like Harry was saying, where it's like, okay, I went to the moon on this one, but my appraisal guarantee is 10 grand. So in the end, I'm really not really the highest. It just looked like I was the highest in the beginning.
Right. No, that's very important. And that's something that we advise our sellers that, just because it's the highest number doesn't mean that it's the best offer. So there's a lot of components that go into, working with our sellers to select the most attractive offer for them, because not all terms are equal. And not definitely, you can offer them, $10 million on a $1 million house, and it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It's not going to appraise.
Yeah. So before with the break, I said 21%, and this is the stat, 21% bought outside their initial area. They pigeonholed themselves a little bit. They were only focusing on this one area. And then how often do you see that as you're out there looking and all of a sudden you go, well, let's just go over here to this other city and see what the value is. And all of a sudden it's really proximity to the school they're looking for. Again, a little bit closer to the walkable city type situation. Does that happen often where people are like, gosh, I wish I would have opened up my eyes originally to this idea?
Well, I think it's that with the lack of inventory, right? And if people are forced to move out of maybe the area that they thought they were honing in on, I don't know if it happens a ton, right? I think people feel that they want an area. Actually, what I should say is it doesn't happen a ton. They end up buying outside the area. They look, but in the end, when something comes up where they really had their heart, that's where they end up buying.
Yeah, well, Harvey, that means if 20% are moving out, that means 80% are sticking with
their
their
original
original
plan.
plan.
It. Call me when the house comes up on the market, right?
Like that, right? But that's the whole thing about making offers, and everybody out there, you have to be able to play the game. You have to have the wherewithal and the patience and the understanding that in this market you're going to have to make an offer, and you're going to have to wait it out. You're going to have to stick it out. You might not get accepted 1, 2, or 3 offers, but that's just what's going on right now, and you really have to go through it to understand it, because it hurts. It hurts. Like, you want to make an offer, you think you're putting your best foot forward, and all of a sudden you get rejected, right? You're going to the rim, you get rejected, you get blocked. And that's what happens. And it's hard, but people don't understand that. But if you've been through the process, you guys have, we've all been through, and you try to guide and coach people through the process, it usually will end up okay. And by the way, we've talked about this a lot. You take a lot of people out and you make 2, 3, 4 offers on homes, but then the home that they end up getting is really the one that was best for them. And we all smile. We all love that. We love that feeling. So just don't think, and you could say things, there's a term for it I won't use, but it might be, Bashir, I used it. It might be that there's a reason why you didn't get that house.
It's absolutely what I say to.
Right? Don't you say that
I
all the
say
time?
it to buyers. We've never had, somebody at the closing table say, I wish I would have had the other house. It always, in real estate, not in life, I say, things always happen for a reason.
No, that's true. So I like that aspect of it, but making that offer is really the component. But you have to be prepared for that, Becky. You can't just go make offers and not be pre-approved. We're talking approved. We're not talking qualified here.
Yeah, there's a lot of people running around with pieces of paper that really don't mean anything, and we know this because they often find their ways to our desk because people know that we know what we're doing. We are vested. We take a little bit more time when we're doing these pre-approvals. But I even had an individual where they got an accepted offer. I'm looking it over, and they were pre-approved with somebody else originally, and originally it thought they were going to be selling their house. They're like, oh well, no, we made this offer not contingent on the sale of their house. Well, no way. They had a $270 purchase price. They had another house in Reno. It was a condo, and this person could not carry both mortgages at that price point. Really, if they're trying to not be contingent, they're really $130,000. That's a huge difference. And once I got to look, I'm like, you got to rescind this offer because it's not real.
So can I speak to that as an agent?
Absolutely.
Because let me tell you, anybody listening out there, you have to have a great lender. So just like you have to have a great agent who knows the area, understands value, comps, etc., on list side, on buy side, but for buyers listening, you have to have a great lender. You can't come to the end of the transaction and you're ready to close and you can't do it because something was missed or right. And you guys know better. You can speak to it better, but we vet, right? We really work with our buyers to make sure they're vetting their lender.
We still
and
get
our
those
sellers
phone, yeah,
to
we
make
still
sure
get those
offers are vetted.
We still get those crazy phone calls. Yeah, they've already got the offer accepted, right? And most transactions now are really going to close within the next 30 days. So immediately within 2 or 3 days, we start the transaction and we're like, what's going on here? We can realize it real quickly. And I got a call late last night, and sure enough, a first-time home buyer. She's really had some specific things going on. So not the cleanest file. And she said, I was like the 11th lender. She goes, Harvey, I've never heard any of these things from 10 different lenders, she said. She said, I've called more than that. And I was quite alarmed too. So we still see that. I don't know who's answering the phones. Again, you can't, it's got to be local. You got to deal with some local professionals, and then we'll set you up with these great real estate agents.
But Harvey, all good, we have a saying, all good loans close. They always do. They always close. Haven't had one flip. Doesn't work that way. Try to do the homework up front. And I even get people when we feel really, really grateful that when our name is on a piece of paper and you guys see our name on a piece of paper that you go, okay, I know those guys. I know it's going to close. Okay, I know that. But I also get phone calls from my friends in the real estate community. They'll call me up and say, hey, Harry, have you ever heard of this lender? And I'll say, yeah, go with it. You know, I don't say, oh, no, don't do it. Come with us. No. It's you have a reputation. You stick with it. And I'll say, yeah, go ahead. They're fine. Or I'll get the call. Have you ever heard of them? Never heard of them. Now, that doesn't mean they're bad. Doesn't mean they're good. It just means I never heard of them. And if you have 3 offers and you have 2 strong pre-approvals from reputable lenders, you got a good chance that you're going to go with one of those 2 because you don't want that loan to flip. And if you haven't had an experience with somebody, then you have to question what's on that piece of paper.
All right, good news for some folks out there. There's finally the Haggerty-Reid amendment. It's going to hit the Senate, so we're going to get rid of those trigger leads. That's right. If you go ahead and have one lender run your credit report now, you might get calls from 10 strangers. We're sort of advising folks, let's stay away from that. All right, tons of information. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket, 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. Alrighty, welcome back to the show, 9:44. If you're just joining us, yes, the vibes are really cool here in Detroit. A little iffy on the weather side, fighting off some rain here, but nonetheless, lots of great weather. We've had some tremendous weather here. And again, if you are getting down to the ballpark, if you're thinking about getting down there for a Monday night game, awesome stuff all around Southeast Detroit. Again, we'll take your calls at 248-539-9797. Dana and Laurie join us, Cooper Glass Homes. Always great to have you guys in here. We're talking behind the scenes about negotiating. I felt like I was getting piled in on. I'm like, wait a minute here. I want my buyers to get this house. I want them to get it. You guys are going to definitely protect your sellers on that side of things, just as you would be protecting your buyers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we want our buyers to get it. We understand, right? You know, we have these conversations with the agents. We do this just like they do, right? We represent buyers and we write 2 and 3 and 4 offers. We've written several offers on the same property before. I mean, the time that it takes to show and to write and to discuss that offer and go back to your agent, all those things, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a lot of effort for a buyer's agent.
It says here the housing market remains competitive. 20% of homes sold over list price in August. So that's definitely what's out there, folks. If you walk into the house and it's in move-in condition, there's 20 other families or more that want that same house. You better come in strong. That's what I'm hearing this morning. Even going into the fall-winter season, Becky, it's not seasonal anymore. Definitely want to come in. What you can afford, talk it over with your lender. Again, be specific. Where are the funds coming from? Because these agents, when you come in that high over 50 to 100,000 on those great homes, they want to see it. So be prepared to provide a bank statement. You can cross off the important information like the account number, but be prepared to share some financial information that says, look, we can make this happen for you.
Yeah, we're going to ask for blood samples as well. I mean, so like, I will assure you, for this is in public service announcement for any lender. We're not going to ask for one piece of paper that we don't need. There's always a method to the madness, and you have to prove your due diligence that you are a qualified buyer. All the mortgages out here are overly qualified buyers right now because we learned our lessons from yesteryear, right? We're not out here like, oh, you have blonde hair, blue eyes, and you're approved for $1 million. You can't do that anymore, right? These are well-qualified mortgages with high, and everyone has equity in the home. But yes, you have to be prepared for those things, and you have to be willing to, if you're getting a gift, you have to show those money. You have to show your bank statements, because it's all about where's the money coming from. Because we know that it's not the payment that's the issue. It's always where the money coming from. And people will say and do whatever they want to get the homes. But when it's time to put up or shut up, it's a different story, you know. So you have to make sure that you're in alignment, you know what's happening, and you're prepared. And that's why we're here with you guys in the studio, because it is a very hand-holding experience to make sure that you guys, anyone that's buying a house, has an amazing experience from start to finish.
The top 10 markets, what millennials and Gen Zs are looking for in terms of quality of life and some of the more affordable areas. Yeah, Detroit, Michigan, we made it all right. Median home price now, $279,950. Quality of life scores 128. That means it's a really cool place to live. And unemployment rate really down here. So again, we made the top 10. Actually, Tampa, Florida, underwater right now. They were number 1. I'm not going to read the whole list here, but yeah, cool. We're definitely on the path here, and it's a great place. Still very affordable when you look at things across the nation. But these great, you mentioned it earlier, Dana, these great areas like the Birminghams and your Bloomfield Hills, and let's go wherever you want to go, Washington Township, anywhere, Grosse Points. Anywhere, Ann Arbor. I mean, Ann Arbor is one of the greatest cities in around. You guys are always up there. Yeah, things become more expensive here, just like any great city, and especially these great homes.
No, absolutely, and we're blessed to be in 32 cities, across the Metro Detroit area. So we're seeing that in all cities.
Yeah, every suburb. I mean, every town right in the Detroit area, every suburb's doing well, knock on wood. We've been in Wixom, we've been in Rochester Hills. We're looking at comps, and all doing great, all doing over asking. The economy is strong here.
You guys said it. You got more listings coming up again, maybe just a little lull here, but soon you've got it. It sounds multiple listing, new homes coming on the marketplace from anywhere. Like you said, Wixom, a little bit here on the western side of Oakland County, and all these different cities you mentioned. So families are starting to, again, some of the empty nesters and people considering moving up or down, they definitely got the word out on the street that rates are starting to move or trend in this lower place. Again, when the mortgage rates drop, we will definitely be the first ones to tell you here on 97 on the ticket.
Well, we've been notifying all our clients, anybody who wants to listen to what's going to happen in the market. Now, we don't predict it because we don't know when, how much, and a specific date. Okay, we just don't. We see the trends. We see what's going on. We know what's happening, and we can advise people like that. But we're always going to advise people to do the right thing and contact the people they should contact, no matter who it is. If you have a relationship, our business is relationship-based. Okay, if you have a relationship with somebody, you go with the relationship. Now, that doesn't mean, trust, but verify, right? You have to verify the information you're getting. And I believe that so many people don't do that. I believe they call a call center, they dial an 800 number, and whatever they're getting, they don't do their homework. Now, unlike a lot of people that like to overanalyze, you can overanalyze too. But you have to go ahead, you have to get the right information. And the right information right now is prices are going up, values are going up. We've had appraisers on this show. From time to time, they'll tell us that, there's certain areas that are dropping, the values aren't coming in. We haven't had, if it's legitimate, okay, we haven't had a question on an appraisal. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't agents out there that aren't trying to sell a $200,000 house for $260,000, and then an appraisal comes in at 220, 210, or even at 200. Okay, but we all know people are trying to take advantage of the market, which, by the way, isn't a bad thing. It's just a thing. So when we get questions on appraisals, we, in our office, we have a process that we go ahead and we take a look at the value. And we run the comps, and I check it out. And we can go ahead and rebut it and ask for a revaluation. But, guys, in this market, it's just what's happening. You're going to have to pay a little more if you want to get into that house. And it's worth it.
But I think it's hard to do on the radio, right? But if you look at the numbers of if you bought previously, the price was down a little lower, and the interest rate was down versus now, right? If you look at those numbers, they're not that much different. If you do the math, they're not that much different. And people are waiting, as I've said. People have said, I made such a mistake waiting, right? But I think you make a good point also about. I was in the paint store the other day picking out a paint color for a client, and I happened to be talking to this guy, and he's like, oh, you're a realtor? I'm listing my house. And I go, oh, who's your agent? And he goes, I can't remember her name.
Oh, boy, that's not a good one.
I was so shocked. I was really shocked.
That happens often, though. Like, I'll get phone calls for someone looking to get a pre-approval, and I'll say, okay, who's your agent so I can make sure it gets, oh, I forgot. So even though, like, agents that are out here listening to us, like, make sure they know your name. Make sure you are contact, because sometimes you don't realize, like, if they found you on Zillow, well, you're one of 4 agents, right? You don't know. So get those buyer agency agreements signed, because the problem right now is that people are going to call somebody until someone tells them what they want to hear.
But to Harry's point, relationship, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a big transaction. You want to make sure that you have somebody, both lender and agent, on your team. I always say we're a team. Right? When we all work together to help somebody buy a house, it's a big deal. It's a big expenditure, right? It's your greatest asset, et cetera. And you want to have a relationship and understand who your lender is, who your buyer is. Like Harry said, have I heard the name before? Well, but you want to know who you're working with.
All right, these listing appointments definitely here in the last 45 days have got a new little twist to them. Sort of more status quo than not with the National Association of Realtors, with the settlement that happened, again, the way we're disclosing and listing. But I'm guessing that you guys are really, when you're meeting the sellers of these homes, you're listing them, you're having these deep-rooted conversations, talking about, look, here's the price point. We're still paying commissions. We're driving up the price of your home, and we're going to pay the people that bring us the highest and best offers. That makes sense.
Exactly. And I think that what this has done is just create more of dialogue. There's been more conversation. And at the end of the day, the sellers, when we explain it and we explain how they're going to get the most money for their house, it's to still offer commission to the buy side. And I think that once we have those conversations, they understand, and we're seeing business as usual most of the time.
And if you're a buyer,
If
you're a buyer, definitely going to be signing something that says, look, here, I'm willing to pay you a commission. So sometimes you'll put something in writing, but because that deep-rooted relationship, you understand that every house is going to be different. And it could change the commission structure of a transaction. So you're negotiable with that. Again, you are likely going to put such a great impression on the buyers. They're going to have such a great, when they go to upgrade their house 5 to 10 years later, I don't know if the average is people holding on to homes now, it's probably somewhere between 5 and 7 years. You're going to get that listing because you did them right the first time. And again, you're sharing all the great knowledge with them. And then they're that much more prepared when you see them, the next 5 to 10 years.
The truth is not much has changed. right?
Right.
It was there's been of course the media, and there's been a lot of talk about the NAR settlement, et cetera. But the truth is, not much has changed, right? I mean, it was negotiable. The commission was negotiable previously. It's negotiable now. But the truth is that we are seeing, right, if there is a seller who is not offering buyer commission, and we have a buyer who wants, I can't decide between that house and this house. Well, this one's offering to pay buyer commission. You know, they're leaning towards that house. So sellers out there, not much has changed. And that is an advantage for you if you are listing your house to offer.
That's a difficult conversation people need to have and need to hear, right? Because you can't sweep that under the rug. People want to get paid for the services they provide, period, end of discussion, okay? So if you want to get paid, this is how you got to do it. And Harvey, people they want to sweep that under the rug. And listen, I say it's about time, but you have to have those difficult conversations. You guys, we have to have them every day. We talk about rate, we talk about costs, we talk about fees, we talk about what people have to pay. We do it 100 times a day. It can often be, with somebody who doesn't understand, a very difficult conversation. But in our licenses, we are licensed to talk about that, and we have it. You guys never had, or rarely, never had to have those conversations, right? And now all of a sudden it's becoming a forefront to your existence.
I think it's so important for buyers to understand that they need representation, right? There's so much that their realtor does for them. And when you need a doctor, you go to the doctor. When you need a psychiatrist, you see a psychiatrist.
You call your realtor when you need a psychiatrist.
Yes, and we are sometimes psychologists as well as realtors. Yeah. But it's so important that they have representation. There's so many things that can go wrong during the transaction, and if you don't have somebody there by your side with experience that has the knowledge and that you trust, you can lose the sale.
Yeah.
All right, that music says, guys, it's the end of the show. That's okay. All the sports fan Detroits, they're already ready to light up the phones here. We got Pat Caputo, Mark Ryan coming up with sports. We've got the Tiger pregame here on 12:45 with Dan Dickerson and his entire team. Tons of great stuff all over the area.
Cooper Glass Homes, been around a long time doing it. One of the best in the area. We love having you guys on. You're always a pleasure and full of knowledge. Thank you very much.
Love being
for having us.
So appreciate it.
Oh, thanks,
Love
guys. Dana Cooper, Laurie Glass, they're fantastic. And again, you could reach us all at Capital Mortgage Funding. We'll hook you up with these great agents. 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. For everyone here in the room, including Becky, Harry, I'm Harvey Free. We will see you next Saturday.